Greetings, explorers of shadows and seekers of hidden truth. Welcome to the portal of the unknown, a place where the veils of reality dissolve, revealing mysteries that transcend time and challenge everything we know. Here, ancient legends are not mere echoes of the past, but fragments of a buried truth, persisting through the ages, waiting for those brave enough to unravel their enigmas. In this portal, we dive into the depths of the occult, where every forgotten symbol, every forbidden manuscript, and every whispered prophecy within the lines of history carries a message that defies the limits of human understanding. What has been lost in the flow of time? What forces operate behind the scenes of existence, shaping humanity's destiny without us even realizing it? The journey ahead is not for the faint of heart. Ancient secrets defy modern logic, and prophecies echo through the cycles of time, repeating patterns that only the most perceptive can see. Prepare to question everything, for every revelation may shake your convictions. Nothing here is as it seems. Embrace the darkness of the unknown, for it is there that the truth hides. Move forward, for we are only just beginning. Today, we delve into the enigmatic prophecy of Ezekiel and its connection to the final judgment. Ezekiel, the prophet of exile, was not just a divine messenger, but a visionary whose revelations transcend time, offering glimpses of an inevitable fate. His words, laden with symbolism and mystery, speak of a promised restoration and an unrelenting divine judgment, where nations will tremble before the supreme manifestation of the Creator. But has the whole truth been revealed? Or is there something more, something hidden between the lines, lost in the forgotten corridors of history? For centuries, interpreters and scholars have scrutinized the prophet's words, seeking to unravel the magnitude of his visions. Among them, we find the epic Valley of Dry Bones, a cryptic representation of resurrection and spiritual renewal. But there is something even more intriguing. Passages that seem to hint at events not yet fully understood, codes that may have been deliberately obscured. What did Ezekiel see but could not fully express? What truths were hidden from those unprepared to comprehend them? Many believe that the Book of Ezekiel contains secrets that only the initiated can decipher. Among his revelations, we find descriptions of celestial beings with indescribable forms, fiery chariots traversing the skies, a divine glory that surpasses human perception. What exactly did these visions mean? Were they merely spiritual metaphors or glimpses of a greater reality beyond our understanding? And most importantly, how do these revelations connect to the final judgment? As we explore these questions, we must ask ourselves, what was omitted? What remains in the shadows waiting to be rediscovered? Some theories suggest that within the prophet's words lie clues to a cosmic battle extending beyond the confines of Earth, involving forces beyond human imagination. The idea of a judgment not limited to the fate of one nation, but extending to the entire known universe. Today, we unveil these mysteries and dive deep into the hidden secrets of Ezekiel's prophecies. Prepare yourself for a journey with no return, where every revelation may change everything you thought you knew about the end of times. In Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 12, the Lord declares, "This is what the sovereign Lord says. My people, I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel." This statement, often interpreted as a promise of national restoration, may carry a much deeper meaning, hidden beneath layers of symbolism and mystery. The vision of the Valley of Dry Bones is not just a representation of Israel's resurrection as a nation, it echoes a much greater and more terrifying theme, the final judgment, the moment when God will bring the forgotten back to life, calling them forth for a decisive reckoning. The image of graves opening is a powerful symbol evoking the day when the dead will rise, summoned for the ultimate moment of truth. But what exactly does this mean? Will it be a literal resurrection, a physical summoning of all who ever walked the earth? Or is there something more, something beyond flesh and blood, something tied to the very fate of souls? Many esoteric traditions suggest that this prophecy conceals profound truths about the cycle of existence, about the return of those who have departed, and the reevaluation of their deeds under divine judgment. When Ezekiel received this vision, he saw a valley filled with scattered bones, dry and lifeless. The first thing this tells us is that these bones did not belong to people who had recently died. They were ancient remains, long forgotten by time, stripped of identity and history. But God commands these bones to rise again, to be covered in flesh, tendons, and breath. This leads us to an inevitable question. Who are these dead that God will bring back? Are they merely the descendants of Israel returning to the Promised Land? Or does this prophecy hint at a much larger event, a global awakening of all who have ever lived? Some scholars suggest a connection between this vision and the Book of Revelation, where the earth and sea give up their dead to be judged before the divine throne. If that is the case, then Ezekiel may have been one of the first prophets to witness the end of time itself. The most intriguing part is that God himself emphasizes that this resurrection will not be merely physical, but also spiritual. He declares that he will place his spirit within them, so that they may truly live again. This suggests a complete renewal, not just of bodies, but of the very essence of existence. The dead will not simply return to life. They will be transformed, elevated into a new state, perhaps even purified for the next phase of the divine plan. If this prophecy truly points to the final judgment, then the Valley of Dry Bones is a warning. It reminds us that no matter how much time passes, no one is ever truly forgotten. Every life that has ever been lived, every soul that has ever breathed, will be called back. For some, this will be a moment of glory and redemption. For others, an awakening to condemnation. But this mystery is far from solved. If hidden secrets lie within Ezekiel's prophecy, what else might be concealed between the lines? Are there clues that can help us understand when and how this event will unfold? And most importantly, how can we prepare for the day when the forgotten bones rise again? But there are apocryphal writings that suggest an even deeper role for Ezekiel, one that has been hidden and forgotten over the centuries. Ancient accounts indicate that the prophet not only received visions of Israel's restoration and the final judgment, but also additional revelations about the ultimate battle between the forces of good and evil, a cosmic war that will determine the fate of humanity and the entire universe. In fragments of texts that were not included in the official canon, there are references to celestial beings, invisible forces locked in an eternal struggle between light and darkness. These writings describe Ezekiel not just as a prophet of exile, but as a witness to cosmic events, a man who saw with his own eyes what will happen when spiritual powers collide in their final confrontation. If his visions are real, then the Valley of Dry Bones may be just the beginning, a glimpse of resurrection before the last battle, where not only the dead will rise, but the very fabric of reality will be tested. Among the lesser-known texts, some scholars point to a so-called Apocalypse of Ezekiel, a lost manuscript said to contain descriptions of events beyond those recorded in his biblical book. This mysterious text allegedly speaks of heavenly armies descending from the skies, led by a celestial prince who will wage war against the rulers of this world. Spiritual entities that, according to these traditions, have enslaved humanity in a cycle of deception and destruction. Ezekiel, they say, was one of the few granted a vision of this battle, but fearing that humanity would not understand, he encoded these events in cryptic prophecies. If this is true, then the enigmatic creatures Ezekiel described, beings with multiple faces, wheels of fire, and radiant forms, might not be mere metaphors of divine glory. Instead, they could be glimpses of a real cosmic war, fragments of an epic confrontation hidden within the layers of Scripture. Why would a prophet who described such vivid visions leave certain revelations incomplete? Was his message deliberately fragmented, reserved for those able to decipher it? Some theorists believe that these lost revelations of Ezekiel foretell a collision of worlds, where divine forces and dark powers will engage in their ultimate battle. The final judgment, then, would not only be a moment of reckoning for the souls of men, it would be the climax of an invisible war. A decisive moment when each soul is called to take a side in the great conflict between order and chaos, light and shadow. And what if this battle is already unfolding? If the signs of the end times that many believe are happening today are merely the first tremors of this celestial war, perhaps Ezekiel saw something too great, too dangerous to fully reveal, something that changes everything we think we know about reality. What other secrets might be buried in the forgotten writings of the prophet? And most importantly, how do we prepare for the war that is to come? The ancient texts speak of a lost book, a manuscript that, according to some esoteric traditions, would detail Ezekiel's revelations about the events leading up to the Great Restoration. This hidden book, which was never included in the canonical scriptures, is believed to be a work of profound visions and spiritual mysteries. Ezekiel, it seems, did not only describe what would happen to Israel, but also had cosmic visions of a distant future, where fire would descend from the heavens, and a celestial prince, armed with a flaming sword, would come to purify the earth. This powerful image of destruction and renewal resonates with an impressive force, directly connecting with a verse from the Apocalypse, which speaks of the great final battle where the sky will open and the rider on the white horse will appear to judge humanity. In Revelation chapter 19, verse 11, we read, "I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Faithful and True. With justice he judges and wages war." This rider, who descends with power and glory, seems to be a clear manifestation of the celestial prince Ezekiel saw in his revelations. The fire descending from the sky, the flaming sword, and the purification of the earth are themes shared between these two prophetic visions, which are distant in time and context, but seem to interconnect in a mysterious way. What Ezekiel foresaw and what the Apostle John described in Revelation have a common denominator: divine justice, which, like a sharp sword, will separate good from evil, bringing a definitive end to the cycle of human corruption. If there truly was a lost book of Ezekiel, it may have been the precursor to a series of deeper prophecies about the cosmic events that will unfold in the end times. The vision of the white horse in Revelation is not merely an allegory of victory, but a prophetic image that speaks of a relentless celestial judgment, a moment when the earth and the entire universe will be purified by fire, and where the forces of good will confront and defeat the forces of evil. This, in fact, is the fulfillment of many of Ezekiel's visions, especially regarding the purification and restoration he saw for the land of Israel. The fire descending from the heavens, the flaming sword, and the celestial prince are symbols of destruction and renewal, a vision in which the world will be destroyed to make way for a new creation. What we see here is a cycle of destruction and reconstruction, where the earth will be purified, removing corruption and impurity. This idea of a cosmic and universal judgment is also present in many other apocalyptic traditions, suggesting that the ancient prophets, such as Ezekiel and John, had a shared vision of the final destiny of humanity. But what is most intriguing is that these visions are not limited to the spiritual or prophetic realm. They could also be warnings for a future moment when divine and cosmic forces will directly intervene in our world, bringing a final judgment. As Ezekiel's words intertwine with John's in Revelation, perhaps we can begin to understand that the end times are not an isolated event, but a continuous process in which invisible forces are already at work, moving through time, preparing the stage for the great confrontation between good and evil. This judgment, represented by the flaming sword of the celestial prince, will be both a purification and a liberation. And as Ezekiel's visions teach us, the restoration that will come after the destruction will not only be physical but spiritual, a return to divine justice and harmony. But the question that remains is, what role will humanity play in this process? How will we prepare for the moment when the rider on the white horse descends to judge and wage war with justice? If these additional prophecies of Ezekiel truly existed, they invite us to a profound reflection about our future and what is to come. Could God's judgment already be in progress, invisible to our eyes, preparing the way for the final battle? Perhaps the spiritual forces are already at work, influencing events around us, guiding the fate of humanity, without us being fully aware of their presence. If these lost revelations of Ezekiel describe the upcoming cosmic battle, then what we are witnessing today might be just the prelude to something much greater and more significant, a global spiritual transformation that will culminate in the end of days and the final restoration of divine order. What these visions tell us is that we are at a cosmic transition, a moment when heaven and earth are about to meet, and humanity will be called to respond to divine judgment. But what will this judgment be, and how will it affect our existence? Ezekiel, in his visions, saw a celestial temple, which was not like any temple built by human hands. It was not made of common stones, but of something far more powerful and enduring: purity and justice, a perfect reflection of what awaits the faithful in the end times. This temple would not be merely a physical place, but a symbol of a new order, where God's presence will be manifested in its fullest and most absolute form. In Revelation chapter 21, verse 3, John echoes this vision, stating, "Now the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God." These words from John are not merely a distant hope, but a promise of restoration. What Ezekiel saw in his visions of a celestial temple finds its fulfillment in John's words. The tabernacle of God, the divine presence that will dwell with men, is the final state of harmony between humanity and the divine. This is not a temple made of perishable materials, but an eternal space where God will be with his people, and humanity will finally experience full union with the Creator. What may seem like a transformation of places is, in fact, a transformation of hearts and souls, a reflection of the ultimate fulfillment of promises made since the very beginning of creation. If Ezekiel saw a temple of purity and justice, then the future of humanity is immersed in a process of purification. God's judgment is not an end, but a new beginning. The destruction of the old, with its corruptions and flaws, will pave the way for the building of a new world, where justice and holiness will prevail. This is not merely a transformation of places, but a transformation of hearts and souls. The new temple, the tabernacle of God with men, will be a spiritual reality, and humanity will be restored to its true calling, living in full communion with the Creator. This process of purification and restoration may already be underway, even if in an invisible form. The world around us may be being shaped for this great cosmic event, where God's judgment and grace will meet, and humanity will finally be reconciled with the divine. So, what does this mean for us? How do we prepare for this final battle and the restoration of divine order? The answer lies in living according to the principles of justice and purity, recognizing that each of our actions has an impact on the future we are helping to create. What Ezekiel and John teach us is that divine judgment is not a final sentence of condemnation, but an opportunity for transformation. The great battle is not only against external forces, but against the internal impurity that must be eradicated for the celestial temple to be finally established. God's presence with us will not be just a distant hope, but a tangible reality, where, as John writes, God will be our God, and we will be his people. This is not only a future event, but a spiritual reality that we must begin to live now, with purified hearts and lives aligned with divine justice. The prophecy of Ezekiel, both in the canonical and apocryphal texts, points to an inevitable and profound destiny. The restoration of humanity and the world will not come before divine judgment. In his visions, Ezekiel made it clear that God's justice would be unwavering, and restoration would only be possible after the purification of those who had defied his sovereignty. The final judgment will be the moment when accounts are settled, where those who rebelled against God's divine plan will face the consequences of their choices, while the faithful, those who remain steadfast in their pursuit of justice, will be restored to the fullness of the promise God made to his people. In Ezekiel's visions, this restoration is not just a promise for a distant future, but an urgent and unavoidable event. Humanity will be tested by fire, and souls will be separated, each receiving what is due, whether in justice or in mercy. Ezekiel describes a purification that will bring about true redemption, a transformation of the entire physical and spiritual world. Divine judgment will not be mere revenge, but an act of cosmic restoration, where evil will be eradicated and good will prevail. Looking at these prophecies, we are confronted with the reality that we are living amid this cosmic battle. If the forces of evil still act, it does not mean that God's judgment is delayed. On the contrary, everything we see and experience could be part of the divine purification process that will culminate in the final restoration. Ezekiel's promise, with the resurrection of the dead and the restoration of Israel, is only a reflection of what will be experienced by all of creation, where the faithful will receive their true reward, and the wicked their just punishment. If you feel the call to go beyond what the eyes can see, to explore the hidden mysteries that have been kept for centuries, and if you wish to understand more deeply the forgotten prophecies speaking of the end times, then this is the place for you. In the portal of the unknown, there is no space for superficiality. Only the brave, those willing to face the truth and seek answers where others fear to go, will find the path to a deeper understanding of what awaits us. The hidden truths that lie beyond the veil of history and spirituality are waiting for you. Are you ready to discover them? Subscribe to the Portal of the Unknown and enter a universe of mysteries and revelations that few have dared to explore.